And welcome to Recovery Report Live. Welcome to Recovery Report Live. I'm Dan O'Das, president of GlobalPro, where we manage risk to recovery, and we've managed more than $1 billion in recovery throughout the 11 plus years that we have been doing this. We're here in the Griffin studio. We have important issues to talk about, and to take us through these important bad faith issues, I am joined by our very own Matt Sengsourinh. Matt, as soon as you appear on scene here, I will we'll talk about what's going on. But until there you are, great. All right, Matt. Well, thanks you for joining us today. Definitely some important issues to go over. A lot of things have been changing again. I think this whole anti-consumer trend has really not panned out so well for the governor in Florida, I think because of that. I think we're going to start to see some interesting trends and issues happen. I mean, I think the departure of farmers, a few other things that were kind of like wow moments for us, where it's like, holy crap. I mean, we got, obviously the writing was on the wall for us. We've been talking about it for so many weeks and months now, but clearly none of this is adding up. So take us through. I know there's a Senate bill you want to take a look at today. I want to break it down. Really important information. So tuning in here, listen to this. This is definitely something this is an episode you're going to want to come back to because there's a lot of facts and information details there. So Matt, thanks for joining us today.
Well, first, thanks for inviting me on. Thanks for having me on. But welcome back.
Yes.
Nice and refreshed. You look great.
Thanks, appreciate
Hope
that.
you had a good trip, and it's we've had a couple of episodes without you here in the past couple of weeks, and maybe we should go back to some of those episodes and some of the things that Rob and I talked about, that I talked about with Mr. Schumacher last week. A lot of things going on. You mentioned anti-consumer. I feel like the end of last year, going into the beginning of this year, was all about anti-consumer, unfortunately, anti-policyholder, anti-insured. The special session that occurred December 2022 changed a lot, or amended a lot of the laws that are out there that protected insureds and policyholders, and I think now we're finally starting to see some of the pendulum swing, and we're getting things like SB 7052 pushed through and approved and signed, and that's what we want to talk about today a little bit. The Insurer Accountability Bill. Okay, so it went into effect on July 1, so we're halfway into July. And the insurers need to comply by August 1. So we're right in the middle of that, and we're hopefully going to see in the next couple of weeks, what happens here. But we've had a ton of claims, obviously, from Hurricane Ian, a handful or so from Hurricane Nicole. Obviously, Hurricane Ian, almost a Cat 5 storm. If not, will be upgraded to a Cat 5 storm, did a lot of damage. Yep. And at the same time, we had this special session go on. We had the governor, the executive team, the executive group in Florida trying to push through what they thought were, resolutions to the ongoing issues here in Florida. Much of it didn't work, as we know. And unfortunately, you can talk about why this occurred, but unfortunately it actually helped out on the wrong side of the table, in our opinion. It helped the insurers mostly. Yep. And again, predictably, that didn't help the insureds and the policyholders here. So now we had this kind of pendulum swing the wrong way, and SB 7052 hopefully pulls it back into balance, I guess is the best way to say it. So
let's break down. I mean, balance would be a good thing. We certainly need to restore balance. There's been a tipping of the scales, if you will, over the last 2 years. That certainly has not benefited the policyholder, hasn't made it cheaper, hasn't made better products, better service. All of the trends and indicators show otherwise, despite what the legislator is saying. And they continue, even when, and the irony is that, even when whatever it is that they had lobbied for didn't work, they still go back to trying to blame the consumer on it. It's like, well, hey, time out. You had the issue with the attorney's fees. You went after public adjusters. You went after contractors. You went after anyone that was ever going to have, and you went out on a big way where you had the CFO Petronas make his comments after Hurricane Ian on the ground floor about this predatory practices. However, it seems as if the predatory practices were mostly on the side of the insurance company here. So let's break this down. Let's talk about what does this do? What is it going to solve?
So let's go back to SB 2A, which is kind of the pendulum swing the wrong way, we'll describe it. In the special session, SB 2A was passed, and this effectively, what this did was this got rid of one-way attorney's fees, which basically it's prevailing fees when an insured wins in court and the insurer has to pay for the claim, which they should have paid from the beginning, obviously, with that determination, that decision. They typically in the past were owed for attorney's fees and costs. That has been completely demolished, and that's gone with SB2A. So that was in the special session the end of the year, 2022. That changed the landscape immediately, right? Off the back of Hurricane Ian and Hurricane Nicole, a very active 2-3 years for hurricanes and storms. Now, all of a sudden, there is no leverage for insurance. There is no leverage for policyholders, right? Again, this was to address the biggest complaint from insurance companies, which we can go into how true it is or not. I don't think it's true. I can tell you data and stats that proves that. But their complaint is that there's litigation all over the place. And some of it might be fraudulent. Some of it comes from contractors and roofers and other folks that maybe shouldn't be involved in the situation, but are, and whatever. Again, that's a whole different conversation. Most of it's not true. But to address that, right, this is what SB2A was passed and put into law for. But what it did again was take the leverage away from the insurer, the policyholder, right? David in this instance versus Goliath. David kind of got a right and a benefit taken away. SB 7052 was supposed to balance that out. So you can't. They didn't veto or change or amend SB 2A. You can't win typically now. You can't win attorney's fees and costs, but there are accountability laws and things like that in place on SB 7052, which forces the insurer to follow certain guidelines and laws. What went into effect so far? Here's the most important, I think, 3 parts of this, right? One, insurers are now required. They must, that's what the law says, they must provide and put together a claims manual. Okay, this is very, very important. The claims manual has to be in effect and out in public by August 1st of 2023.
That's awesome.
Okay? So the reason why this is great is they have to then comply. They must comply with their claims manual.
And the claims manual is how they adjust and pay claims.
That's right.
So having that information as a consumer, particularly as an advocate, you can pick apart the process and say, hey, you're not doing these 3 things. It's 1 thing. Right. It's 2 things. I mean, we have a case just recently that where we started going through claims manual for a particular insurer, and we realized how they're not in compliance with their own guidelines. So it is a great thing for us as consumer advocates, but also as policyholders, something to think about does your insurance company that you're insured with have their claims manual in what's in it and what are they required to do?
That's right. And that claims manual, on top of this is the third kind of most important part, has to comply with industry standards and guidelines and Florida law. Okay, so again, it's a different way, it's a roundabout way of kind of circumnavigating the issue with SB2A. And if they don't comply with all these things, they're actually financially responsible and accountable for those actions. You can call them predatory or unfair claims settlement practices. You can call them whatever you want. At the end of the day, if they don't comply with their own claims manual, obviously, right, they're doing something wrong. It's very clear there. Okay, so this is a big deal.
But they would never do that.
Oh, they would never do that.
Yeah, okay.
Why would they do that, right? I mean, gamesmanship, mincing words. It's all part of the game, I guess, at the end of the day, unfortunately. But with that being said, I think I would actually argue, right, that representation is more needed than ever before. And I would argue that GlobalPro, and again, I'm biased, right? I would argue that GlobalPro, because of our process, the pedigree of our team, this actually helps us as a representative and advocate for our insurers, our community associations, our business owners, our private clients. It helps us more because of our process, our pedigree, than actually on the legal side, on the attorney side. So again, it saves costs for insureds when they have loss or damage. It allows the process to go a little bit faster. You're not at the mercy of the courts and things like that. You don't have to worry about whether or not you're going to get awarded attorney's fees and costs because you have to fight for that now, obviously. And now, because of the law, you typically don't get it. Now, all of a sudden, in my opinion, it actually, again, gave them much more leverage. So that's the other benefit that come out of this. And frankly, again, I'm biased, but other companies in our industry, our competition out there, they're not set up the way we are. They don't have the pedigree. They don't have the folks on their team the way we've built the team. So again, most advantageous for our insureds is that our process and our team actually lends itself to what you have now as far as the benefit goes for an insured. So I think that's a huge deal. Obviously.
I think it's a big game winner for the policyholder. I think having these resources, knowing where to get them and how to use them is really important, particularly in this in the landscape that we're in right now with regards to property insurance. So we're talking about for business owners, community associations, with these policies that are largely based on and adjusted with sublimits, not even the limits of insurance.
Right.
I mean, the idea that you even could get close to it with the rising deductibles. I mean, we were talking with an insurance agent broker, $50,000, $100,000, $1 million water deductibles. You need to know their process. How are they going to treat your claim? Because $1 doesn't happen for quite a while. I mean, you have to have a tremendous loss in some of these instances to even get $1. So knowing how to document things and to trigger the obligations of the insurer is going to be so important. So this is really, really good stuff.
Yeah. It also has a trickle-down effect. I think we should talk about it a little bit because not just the insurer, but all the representatives.
Yeah.
The adjusters, the IAs, everything's done on an IA and TPA basis today. They're not even sending their own folks, and when their folks come there, which we know from several claims after year, they just sit in their cars and they don't do anything, right? So this is a situation where everybody is held accountable, and in the past there was never anything in writing. There was never anything that actually. Now, we try to make them comply with their statutory and contractual obligations. This actually forces them to give you the playbook, and then they have to comply with it, and all of their representatives have to too. So think about what I'm saying. When it comes to mitigation, as an example, one of the biggest sticking points after Hurricane Ian was, in our opinion, right, the scope or the method of mitigation and what should be paid and what shouldn't be paid. Insurers take all kinds of different views and perspectives, and they try to play games. And some will tell you, well, this isn't paid for because it's wind-driven, but all this other damage is wind, and we'll pay for this, but we're not going to pay. It's a whole discussion. Right? That's why representation is most important. But these folks can't get away with it anymore. They have to comply with the claims manual for whomever they're representing, which will make it a little bit harder for them to play the game and play outside of the lines here a little bit. So,
and understanding who the role players are and something to kind of build on what you were saying there is that, and we've mentioned this in prior broadcasts, but just as a refresher, your independent adjusters for your insurance company are working at the behest of the insurance companies. However, most of those independent adjusters have no authority. So even if they tell you that they're going to get you paid for something, there's someone at the insurance company that's looking at the claims manual and saying, oh, well, does that fit within the construct of our interpretation or understanding of the policy or how it's going to be paid, even though that's one way of looking at things sometimes, and usually not to the benefit or the advantage of the policyholder. But these independent adjusters are in some way absolved of any responsibilities for the bad acts or the actions of the insurance company, and that's what they want you to lead to believe. Now, I find that troubling because it kind of, again, absolves them. So it's the other way too, right? The insurance company doesn't want to take accountability for what the independent adjuster is doing either, and whether or not they're familiar with the claims manual. So again, central theme here, claims manual, having it, knowing who should be doing what they should be doing, and when they should be doing it is really important to the claims process, and making sure that there's some sort of accountability.
So interesting that we always talk about this internally. I think that's something we should define and explain more for policyholders, insurers, for community associations, especially who we represent. But oftentimes what we get from carriers is, like the other day I got the letter from we're not going to name names here, but I got the letter from an adjuster who has literally refused to adjust the claim for months now. And every time we write a letter and we document what's going on and we ask them for things that they are required to give to us, statutorily required, contractually required, and they keep balking, they keep refusing, they don't even answer them most of the time. Again, all bad faith, unfair claims handling practices, right? And at the end of the day, every response we get has more to do with the technicalities of the adjustment of the claim, meaning the insurer didn't comply with this, but they allude to it. They don't give you an exact specific case of the insured not fulfilling their duties after a loss. They just say they did not, right? When we submit bills, actual incurred expenses, mandatory incurred expenses, they write back without reviewing it because, this is millions of dollars on the line. It would take them weeks to review some of the stuff that we had sent over. They write back in 48 hours, it's insufficient, or they've been prejudiced somehow.
But if you didn't give it to them,
that's right.
They would demand that because you didn't give them that and you only give them an estimate from a bulk adjuster or a contractor that didn't actually do the work, that's not sufficient, that they will only pay based on what you incur. Right. But then when you produce what's been incurred, then it's insufficient. It's kind of like similar theme here. We see this a lot.
And that's
we see this a lot. A lot.
That's the gamesmanship. Yeah. And frankly, it's probably mostly, I would say, worse, right? It's become more prevalent after SB2A because there's no leverage. They know that the process of holding them accountable and having any recourse as an insured is a long, arduous road at this point. And frankly, it's very expensive, right? So
they strip the attorney's fees.
That's right.
Now, you can get them. but it requires, and it's done on this this total bullshit scale, right? But before you can even sue them, you have to give them the opportunity again.
That's right.
To do right by you.
That's
But which begs the question as to why didn't they do it right the first time?
That's
I mean,
right.
you suffered in a lot of regards probably one of your worst losses of your life.
Right.
Every time a loss occurs, it strikes me. It's striking to me that when I talk with our insureds, whether they are the board members of an association or a business owner, right, most often, and we talk to them about the size of their loss and the dollar amount of their claims relative to their income. It's seldom do I see that the amount of the loss isn't roughly around or exceed what they may earn in any given 1 year. So we're talking about a substantial amount of money that is owed to a person. Why do we have to give the insurance company the opportunity to do it wrong more than once?
Yeah.
I don't understand the mentality, right? You paid them your premium dollar. They told you what it was going to cost. Most often, there was no negotiating, right? Particularly, you're not negotiating the actual product.
Well,
you're negotiating the price of the product.
It's a unilateral contract of adhesion, right? Yeah. So, you're not negotiating anything.
And so they wrote it.
That's right.
You have to accept whatever's in there at whatever price they put it at, and they're allowed to get it wrong more than once. It doesn't matter. And if they get it wrong more than once, I still may only be entitled to a nominal amount of damages, even though it's dragged out for months and months and months. Now, if I was as late on average as they were paying claims as I am on my premium, you think they would continue to insure me? Not a chance, right? So I don't understand the idea that we have to give them another opportunity, another extended opportunity to do it. And then you have, again, this is great. Again, we have some movement and traction going in the direction which we expected. I mean, Matt, we've talked about this like when's it going to happen? When's it going to happen? The other shoe going to fall? When's the pendulum going to swing back? Whatever analogy you want to give to it. It's going to happen at some point. It's historically happened all the time. Yeah. I think it's a great move for consumers. I think we should all be getting behind this champion. Yes, do these things, because we want to see more of it. We need to put all the naysayers to bed. We recently had an insurer leave Florida. And you had some of the pundits say, it's because of the litigation. It's like, okay, by the way, if you analyze this insurer's interest in these claims, what potentially it may be exposed to, it was next to nothing. It had nothing to do with litigation, literally nothing to do with it.
And by the way,
have a bad insurance environment in Florida, in the legislation that's been proposed and passed doesn't work. When you protect the insurers more than you protect the consumers, it doesn't work. It's been proven in the past. Whenever they started protecting consumers more than the insurance companies, you had a better market. It's true. It's absolutely true. Prove me wrong. I've welcomed people to come on the show. Give me facts. Give us information. Matt and I have looked at this data in detail, man.
And when you look at the actual company, right, and you break down its balance sheet, just from the public information that's available out there at your fingertips in Google, 3/4 of their business is still intact. We're talking about a third, maybe less, of their entire exposure to the market, which is even less.
Well, do you kind of feel like it was to silence this move?
Well, maybe, yeah. I mean, look.
It's like because shit, we're gonna have to do something now. We better quiet them down so that they don't put so much emphasis on it.
Maybe,
I understand. These guys think far ahead, man.
Yeah.
They're so good at strategizing.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable. I give them credit where credit's due. That is where it's due.
It's a business. At the end of the day, they're making business decisions.
100%.
It has nothing to do with the actual insureds or what's going on. And they can blame whatever they want. But again, going back to what we were talking about, it's prevailing fees, meaning the insured has won the decision, and they're upset that they have to pay. They could have just paid the claim. They could have just from the beginning paid the claim. Now, again, hopefully now we're keeping them. Now they must identify what they need to do based on the laws and the guidelines, the standard guidelines of the industry.
Yeah.
And now we have another thing to point back to, and they'll have actual financial obligations, should they refuse or fail to comply with all that.
All good information, man.
Interesting thing.
Totally. This move was needed. We need more of it. Again, when you trend towards protecting the consumer more than the companies, again, historically we have seen a better insurance market. And when you have year after year, you don't have storms, then you suddenly have one. It seems as if like everything is focused on the public adjusters, the attorneys, and the contractors. That's the reason why it didn't work. Well, maybe it's because you moved your leverage around so much, or weren't required to keep as much on the balance sheet as you should have. And you enjoyed those profits for so long that suddenly you have to dip into them in order to pay people back for the promise of what you gave them in the contract. Suddenly, public adjusters, attorneys, and contractors are all a bunch of predators, as the CFO said. Because they're going to go do their job to make sure that their clients are properly restored, properly get what they're entitled to, properly represented in every facet of it. Again, I think this is a big move. I think it's a good trend. I hope it continues.
What was the CFO's response to farmers leaving the market? Did you read? He was shocked.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyway.
He was speechless.
Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah.
I think we're going to hear more about this again. In August, we'll come back and kind of follow up on some of the things. I want to get my hands on some of these claims manuals. I can't wait to dig into some of these, and especially with certain insurers who I'm talking about that are notorious and are taking advantage of the entire system. I can point back to the Washington Post article with Heritage as an example. Again, not our opinion. It's in writing. It's documented. It's all proven. It's all there. And I say to everyone that I've sent it to and talked to about, you're going to read that article if you don't understand the business or not in our industry, and you're going to say, wow, I can't believe this goes on. And our response is, this happens on every single claim. It's been like that for years and years and years. So, take a look around, see what's going on. And ultimately, it's not the litigation. It's not the litigation. There's several factors. Litigation might be one of them, in so much as it's a cost to the insurance company, which they are in total control of at the end of the day, right? So they're defending themselves and having to pay these losses anyway. They could have just, in good faith, tried to find coverage for the insureds and paid them from the beginning. So
it shouldn't be that shocking.
Right. That's what it shouldn't be that shocking. So, wanted to talk quick before we get off here. After all this kind of negative talk, right? Yeah. We're going to a fishing tournament tomorrow. So I'm very excited for the LBA, for the fishing tournament. I can't wait to get on the boat. We fished in, 2 months ago, was it? When was the, So this will be our second trip of the year. I'm very excited. Hopefully you're ready.
Yeah, I think plenty of sunscreen and clothing to wear. I hope we can stay cool in these warm waters because this El Nino is we haven't quite seen the storm activity yet, but it's coming, and I'm excited to get out there with the whole LBA, all the members and the board members, and really enjoying all the other sponsors. Incredible event. This is a incredible opportunity for all of us to network, spend more time outside the office, getting to know each other. Incredible organization. You have some of the best at the top of this thing running it. And if you're not in the LBA and you haven't been to the fishing tournament or you are missing out, because this fishing tournament is out of control. We are the weigh-in sponsor again, third year in a row.
Yeah.
We did it big last year, way bigger than the first year, way bigger.
Yeah.
They brought us out underneath the dock and put us in the sun, and we partied it up and enjoyed it. This year, I can't wait for the members to see what we have put together this year. I know Matt and the whole team has been working really, really hard on it. I'm going to be probably a little shocked by what I see, and I'm very much looking forward to it. Looking forward to getting on the water, man. This is great.
It's going to be fun. It's going to be fun.
Yeah.
Okay, so just as on a side note, obviously we're big sneakerheads around here. Saturday is also a big day. I don't know if you know this, but the Air Jordan 1 UNC toes come out.
Oh, it's on my calendar.
Okay, good.
Yeah,
I just want to make sure everybody out there knows what's going on.
I put my fresh kicks on today.
That's right.
These
That's
things.
right. We always got.
Yes. You got to make sure that you feel good.
That's right.
That's what Fresh Kicks and Cuts is all about. Check it out on our website, and check out all the information we have for you at globalpro.com. If you haven't liked and follow us, make sure that you are doing that, because when we go live right here in the Griffin studio on the Recovery Report Live, you will get notification of it. You'll also get the notification of everything else that we post, whether it's news information, whether it's sponsorship opportunities, the things that we're doing, other events that we're hosting. You want to know about these things because we want to continue to give you information you can use every single year, year in, year out. And as we are headed deep into the storm season, the more active part of the storm season, the water is hot. I wouldn't even say warm. I was about to say warm. I changed that mentally. I said, this is hot. I mean, it is hot. We had one of the guys, actually, the LB was saying that he was fishing last week. They were 30 miles out. It was 80-some degrees in the water. What that does for storm activity, it allows these storms to get bigger, stronger, travel farther distances. You have to be ready. Be ready. Make sure that you have what you need. Yep. If there's anything that we can do to help you here, our expert team has been through some of the worst events to happen, and we know what it takes to, as far as planning and to dealing with the actual activity when it's occurring, and then the recovery of it. It's so important. I can't stress it. Ready, Recover, Rebuild. It's our process. We want to introduce it to you. If you don't know about it, we can walk you through it. We have all kinds of preferred client services programs and different things that we can help you get ready for this storm season to make sure that your business or community association are ready. So again, GlobalPro.com, check it out. We have a storm center there, right?
Check out the storm center, yeah.
That's really great. We're not meteorologists, okay? So we're not going to be telling you about...
We just play one on TV.
We just, right, exactly. It's not about giving you meteorology information. It's actually really just making sure that you have the information you need when dealing with the claims, because after the event occurs, we get real-time updates on different things that different insurers are doing, and in the state of Florida or Texas or New York or wherever the storm impacted the Carolinas, we will make sure that the latest information from the local authorities, state and federal, is there, so that you have one source, one place to go for all of that. It's really, really important. For those clients who have signed up with us or work with us, we have all of their insurance information right there at the click of a button. We have a software system proprietary that we have built that is seamless, that makes sure that we can get to your locations as quick as possible and process the claim, because that first reporting of a loss after a major event like a hurricane or whatever else is really important. But it can also take a toll on your claims for water claims, fire claims, tornadoes, or other types of losses. So it's not just all about hurricanes. Our resources are far and deep and relates to much of anything, including business type income losses, which are incredibly complicated. So again, hey Matt, thanks for joining us today.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks for wearing such fly kicks.
Always.
They're fantastic. I love it. Again, check us out. Well, same time, same place, right here on the Recovery Report Live, 11 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. We'll see you next week right here on the Recovery Report Live.